equations. Really, the deal with 1.4 is these are the literal equations that you guys were solving in Algebra 1. So remember, a formula is an equation that relates two or more quantities. There's a handful of examples below, calculating distance, area, and temperature. So to solve for a variable means to rewrite the equation with a specific variable on one side of the equation. So instead of solving for, a number, we're just rewriting our formula to solve for a variable. So let's go through the examples. Just like last lesson, I'm going to stick to the ones on the left side. You guys work out the ones on the right side. Okay, so for number 1 here, we have the circumference formula, C equals 2 pi r. Our goal is to solve for r. So I'm going to go ahead and highlight r right away. Okay, so solving for r, we're trying to get r all by itself. So in this case, we have 2 pi r. So 2 and pi act as our coefficients on r. So since there are coefficients, we're going to go ahead and divide our coefficients from both sides. Okay, on the left side here, we would have c divided by 2 pi. Since c is also a variable, you just leave it as a fraction, and that equals r. And since r is all by itself, we can leave that as our final answer. Okay, in some cases, we will use slope-intercept form. So for number 3 here, we are trying to solve for y. So I'm going to go ahead and highlight y right away. So solving for y, getting y all by itself. First thing we're going to want to do is isolate our variable. So let's get rid of 6x by subtracting 6x from both sides. Okay, that is going to leave us with just 5y on the left side equals 30 minus 6x, but I typically write the variable first, so I'm going to write negative 6x. Oops, let's get that lined up. Negative 6x plus 30. Okay, I'm still trying to solve for y, so let's move our 5 to the other side. 5 is a coefficient, so let's go ahead and divide 5 to the other side. And when dividing 5 to the other side, you have to divide each term by that number. So 5y divided by 5 is just going to give me y equals, I can just leave negative 6/5 x as a fraction, plus 30 divided by 5, which is 6. Okay, as you guys probably remember from Algebra 1 and geometry, this is slope-intercept form. We're still going to be working with slope-intercept form a lot in Algebra 2. Okay, the final thing is they do want us to evaluate our equation here, solve for y. So if x was negative 10, let's substitute in a negative 10. So I've got our equation, y equals negative 6/5 x, which we know x is just negative 10, plus 6. All right, from here, let's go ahead and evaluate. Remember, negative 10 can just be rewritten as negative 10 over 1. And let's just multiply our fraction. So I've got y equals negative 6 times negative 10, which is positive 60, over 5, plus 6. Let's simplify our fraction before we add. 60 divided by 5 is just 12. So I've got y equals 12 plus 6, which just gives us y equals 18. Okay, repeat that same exact process with number 4 here. Solve for y, create a slope-intercept form equation, and then evaluate with substituting in negative 10 for x. Okay, on the second side here, we're doing a lot of the same. So in this first section here, if the variable you are asked to solve for shows up in more than one term, you must apply the distributive property or factor before you can solve. So in number 5 here, we are asked to solve for y. So y is in both of our terms. We have 4y and negative xy. So since y is in both of our terms, let's go ahead and factor that out right away. So by factoring out a y, you ask yourself, what times y gives you 4y? Well, that would be 4. And then what times y gives you negative xy? Well, that would be negative x. So go ahead and factor out y first. The nice thing about the process here is now we're still just trying to solve for y. So we just need to undo our multiplication here, which can easily be done by division. So let's divide our parentheses 4 minus x to both sides. That way we'll get y all by itself. Okay. On our left side then, our 4 minus x's will cancel, leaving us with just y equals, and then we can just leave this as a fraction, 9 over 4 minus x. And since y is isolated, it's by itself, that is our final answer. Once again, it would like us to evaluate here. So I've got y equals 9 over 4 minus x, which in this case would be 4. Okay, let's go ahead and simplify our fraction. So y equals 9 over 4 minus 4, which is just 0. And then this is a nice review as well, because whenever you have a fraction with 0 as the denominator, your answer is actually undefined. But when 0 is your numerator, then your answer is 0. So make sure you're keeping those two straight. All right, let's just do one more here, number 7. So number 7, same exact process, but in this case, we are solving for y. So I'm just going to rewrite our equation here. Yx minus x equals 40. And in this case, x does show up in both of the terms. But since it's the variable that we're not trying to solve for, we don't need to worry about factoring. Instead, we can just go about our standard process. So we are once again solving for y. So let's isolate our variable. First thing I'd like to do here is let's add x to both sides to get xy by itself. So now on the left side, I have xy equals, once again, I'll write my variable first, x plus 40. Now, trying to get y all by itself, let's divide the coefficient, which in this case is x. We can divide that by each of our terms. And in this point, we really do have two different acceptable answers. You could just write your final answer as y equals x plus 40 over x. I would accept that answer, but a more simplified answer would be to divide both of these separately. In that case, would give me y equals x divided by x. Think about x as just any other number, 2 divided by 2. Anything divided by itself is just 1. And then 40 divided by x, you obviously can't divide those. So you would just have 40 over x. Either of those would be acceptable answers. It doesn't really matter to me which one you'd go for. All right, so like I said earlier, try those right side examples on your own. Please come to class with any questions that you have. This process of being able to solve for a variable is very important for the duration of the school year. All right, thanks for watching.